Welcome, traveler of the night. Tonight, the road will lead you into a place where shadows breathe and silence screams. Buckle up, this is a story you won't forget. The Black Highway. Mike had been driving for 3 days straight, only stopping to refuel and catch a few minutes of uneasy sleep at desolate truck stops. His eyes were bloodshot, his hands stiff on the wheel, but the road stretched on like a dark river through the American night. The CB radio crackled occasionally, though most truckers kept silent this deep into the highway. The sky above was empty, the stars drowned by low, heavy clouds. At first, it was just fatigue. The long hum of the engine, the hypnotic rhythm of the white dashed lines, the kind of exhaustion that gnaws at your brain until every shadow becomes a shape, every tree a figure waiting by the roadside. But then, around 2 a.m., something changed. The CB radio hissed and spat static. Then, through the noise, a voice whispered. "Mile 190, don't take it." Mike frowned. "Who's on this channel?" No answer. Just static. He shook his head, rubbed his face, and pushed the pedal harder. The headlights sliced through the blackness, revealing nothing but empty asphalt and the endless road. But deep down, in the pit of his stomach, a knot of unease began to tighten. He didn't know it yet, but the road was about to show him things no man should ever see. The night pressed down heavier with every mile Mike drove. It wasn't just the weight of darkness, it was something thicker, heavier, like a curtain being drawn tighter and tighter across the world around him. His headlights carved out a narrow tunnel of pale light, but beyond that beam was nothing, no stars, no moon, no horizon. Just endless black. At first, he tried to convince himself it was normal. These highways could stretch for hours without traffic, and he'd been on lonely roads before. But this was different. The silence was wrong. There should have been at least a set of headlights in the mirror by now, or the glow of an approaching rig. Instead, there was only the hum of the engine and the low drone of tires rolling across asphalt. Then the radio hissed again. Not just the faint crackle of static, this was sharp, invasive, like something trying to claw its way into the cab. Mike frowned, reaching for the knob. But before he touched it, he froze. There was breathing on the other end. Slow. Drawn out. Too heavy to belong to him. It filled the speakers like the sound of someone standing just behind his seat, leaning close enough for their breath to brush the back of his neck. "Cut it out," Mike muttered, forcing a laugh that came out too strained to sound convincing. He tried to twist the dial, but before he could, the breathing broke into words, distorted, mechanical, stretched like an old tape recording. "You should have stopped, at mile 190. The wheel jerked slightly in Mike's hands as his pulse surged. His knuckles tightened around the leather grip, so hard his fingers ached. He swallowed hard, his mouth dry. It had to be a prank. Some trucker messing around with frequencies. Or maybe a late-night radio transmission gone bad. His mind threw up explanations as fast as it could, but none of them stuck. Deep down, Mike knew, this wasn't just static. The highway shifted. He realized it when the familiar green reflective signs disappeared. No exit numbers. No gas stations. No mile markers. Nothing but black asphalt unrolling endlessly beneath him. He tapped the GPS mounted on his dashboard. The screen flickered but stayed frozen, the tiny arrow that represented his truck stuck motionless in place even as the odometer ticked forward. "Don't do this to me now," Mike growled, hitting the side of the device with his palm. Nothing. The air inside the cab felt heavier. Not hot, not cold, just thick, like it carried weight of its own. He adjusted the vents, but no rush of air came. It was as if the truck had become sealed from the world outside. For the first time in years of long-haul driving, Mike felt lost in a way that wasn't just about directions. This wasn't the kind of lost a map or a GPS could fix. This was deeper, more primal. The kind of loss that made him question whether he was even on the same road anymore, or if this highway still belonged to the world he knew. And then, he saw it. Up ahead, faint in the sweep of his headlights, was a shape. Not a car. Not a person. Something else. It was tall and narrow, standing motionless on the asphalt as though it had been waiting for him. Mike eased off the accelerator, his breath catching in his throat. The truck began to slow, though he hadn't touched the brakes. The figure didn't move. It didn't flinch from the glare of the headlights. It just stood there, rooted in place, casting no shadow. The closer Mike came, the colder the air inside the cab grew. His breath fogged faintly on the glass, a ghostly vapor that shouldn't have been there, not with the heater still on. Every nerve in his body screamed at him, "Don't stop. Don't you dare stop." But the truck seemed to have a will of its own. The speedometer needle dipped lower. 40 miles an hour. 35. 30. Mike gripped the wheel until his knuckles went bloodless white. His chest heaved. His eyes locked on that figure. The figure that didn't move. The figure that didn't blink. The figure that was waiting. And in that moment, as the headlights stretched across its outline, Mike realized something that turned his stomach to ice. The highway wasn't empty anymore. It was watching him. Mike's foot hovered over the brake, his entire body torn between instinct and dread. The figure ahead remained perfectly still, carved into the night like a shadow given weight. His headlights painted it in pale beams, but no detail emerged. It had no face, no color, nothing human about it, just a shape where no shape should be. Then, in the blink of an eye, it was gone. Not stepped aside. Not faded. Simply gone. 1 second it was there, the next it wasn't. Mike's heart slammed against his ribs hard enough to hurt. His palms were slick against the wheel, his breath shallow. "Jesus," he whispered. The radio, which had been silent for the last stretch, crackled alive again. This time, no breathing. No words. Just a long, dragging sound, like fingernails scraping across metal. It tore through the cab until Mike reached over and ripped the knob down to silence. But even with the radio off, the sound lingered in his ears, as though it had been inside his head rather than the speakers. For the next 20 miles, nothing happened. No signs, no cars, no figure. Just the endless hum of tires and the suffocating black stretching in every direction. Mike's shoulders ached from how tightly he held himself, his mind replaying that vanishing figure over and over. And then, finally, something broke the monotony. A shape up ahead. Smaller this time. Moving. Mike narrowed his eyes. It was a man. A hitchhiker, trudging along the side of the road, one arm raised, thumb out. His clothes were ragged, barely holding together, and his backpack sagged with weight. For the first time all night, Mike felt something familiar. Hitchhikers weren't unusual out here, even this late. Against his better judgment, he slowed the truck and pulled onto the shoulder. The man lifted his head. His eyes glowed faintly in the sweep of the headlights, not with reflection, but with something deeper, like coals smoldering beneath ash. When the hitchhiker opened the passenger door, the smell of cold air swept into the cab. It wasn't the smell of night or dirt or sweat, it was metallic, sharp, like rust and old blood. "Thanks," the man rasped, climbing in. His voice was dry, cracked, as though he hadn't spoken in weeks. He dropped his bag at his feet and shut the door. Mike forced a smile, though his throat felt tight. "Where you headed?" The hitchhiker stared at him for a long, unsettling moment before answering. "Doesn't matter. Not anymore." The words lingered in the air, heavy, final. Mike cleared his throat. "Been walking long?" The hitchhiker nodded slowly. His eyes never left Mike's face. "Longer than I should've. This road, it doesn't end once you take the wrong turn." Mike's knuckles tightened on the wheel. Wrong turn. The hitchhiker leaned forward slightly, his breath leaving a faint frost on the inside of the windshield. You've felt it already. Haven't you? The way the signs disappeared. The way your GPS froze. The way it watches. Mike's stomach clenched. He hadn't told the man about any of that. Listen to me, the hitchhiker whispered, his tone sharp, urgent. If you see it again, the figure, don't stop. Don't slow down. Drive like your life depends on it. Because it does. Mike's throat went dry. What is it? The hitchhiker's eyes flicked toward the windshield, toward the endless road ahead. His voice dropped even lower. It's the black highway. Once it pulls you in, it won't let you go. And the thing you saw? That's not the worst of it. A silence stretched between them, broken only by the growl of the engine. Mike felt his skin crawl under the weight of those words. Finally, he forced a laugh, thin, nervous. You telling me I'm trapped on some kind of cursed road? Sounds like a bad horror story. The hitchhiker didn't laugh. He didn't even blink. It's not a story. Outside the truck, the night thickened. The asphalt looked darker than before, like ink swallowing the headlights. And for the first time, Mike realized he hadn't seen a horizon in hours. The hitchhiker leaned back, closing his eyes. You'll see soon enough. And as Mike shifted his gaze back to the road, heart pounding, he couldn't shake the feeling that the man beside him wasn't a passenger at all. He was a warning. A warning Mike was already too late to heed. Mike kept glancing sideways at the hitchhiker, though the man sat perfectly still, eyes closed, breathing shallow and steady, like he was asleep. But Mike knew better. He felt it, the man wasn't resting, he was simply waiting. The road stretched on, blacker and emptier than before. Mike had been driving for hours, yet the scenery hadn't changed. No gas stations. No mile markers. No distant glow of towns. Just asphalt that seemed to regenerate itself endlessly in front of the headlights. He tapped the GPS again. Still frozen. A glowing blue arrow, suspended in digital limbo, with no roads mapped around it. He tried his phone, no signal, no clock update. The battery percentage hadn't moved either, stuck at 63%. He cursed under his breath. You notice it now, don't you? The hitchhiker's voice slid into the silence, low but cutting. His eyes remained shut. Mike gripped the wheel tighter. Notice what? That you're not going anywhere. You've been driving in circles. This road doesn't lead anywhere. It just keeps you. Mike's jaw clenched. He hated the way the man said it, like a teacher waiting for a student to admit the obvious. I've been heading straight the whole time, Mike muttered. That's not a circle. The hitchhiker finally opened his eyes, and Mike wished he hadn't. In the dim cab light, they seemed darker than before, as if they'd absorbed the night itself. Straight doesn't matter here, the man whispered. On this road, straight is the longest circle of all. Mike's pulse spiked. He pressed harder on the gas, the truck roaring louder, speedometer climbing. The scenery blurred faster, but it didn't change. Trees. Road. Darkness. No difference. And then, he saw lights. At first, tiny pinpricks ahead. Then brighter. A wave of relief hit him so hard it was almost painful. Headlights. Another vehicle. Finally, Mike muttered, leaning forward. Someone else. But as the lights grew closer, his relief curdled into dread. It wasn't another truck. It wasn't a car. It was his own headlights. Coming toward him. His stomach turned to stone. He slammed the brakes, tires screaming on the asphalt, the cab shuddering with force. The hitchhiker didn't flinch. The truck skidded to a stop, and the road ahead, was empty again. Nothing. Mike's hands shook violently on the wheel. "What the hell was that?" he whispered. The hitchhiker tilted his head, studying him like an insect pinned to a board. "That was you. This road doesn't give you signs. It gives you mirrors." Mike swallowed hard, his throat raw. "Mirrors of what?" "Of what's waiting," the man said simply. A sudden pounding echoed through the trailer behind them. 3 heavy knocks. Mike spun around in his seat, heart racing. Nothing. The trailer door rattled once. Twice. Then silence. Mike turned back, sweat dripping down his temples. "What the hell is in my truck?" The hitchhiker's lips curled into something that wasn't quite a smile. "Not what?" "Who?" Mike's chest tightened, and for the first time since picking the man up, he wished desperately to be alone. But deep down, he knew, he wasn't alone anymore. Not on this road. Not in his truck. Not even in his own skin. The night outside thickened until the headlights seemed to shine against a wall of ink, barely piercing it. The air in the cab grew colder. Breath misted before their faces. The hitchhiker leaned closer, voice dropping to a hiss. "Don't stop again. Don't look back. Whatever you hear, whatever you see, don't invite it in." Mike stared at him, horrified. "Invite what in?" The hitchhiker looked forward, his face hard as stone. "The road." The pounding in the trailer faded, but Mike's nerves buzzed like exposed wires. Every shadow seemed alive now, shifting with the vibration of the engine. The road stretched endlessly, swallowing every mile he tried to put behind him. For a long time, neither of them spoke. The silence pressed against Mike's ears, broken only by the low growl of the diesel. Then, horns. Low, mournful horns, drifting through the night air like the cries of something enormous and dying. Mike froze, his foot easing off the gas. The sound grew louder. Closer. Headlights appeared in the rearview mirror. At first, 1 pair. Then 2. Then a dozen. A line of trucks. Their beams cut into the darkness behind him, burning through the fog. Relief flared inside him. Other drivers. A convoy. Maybe he wasn't lost after all. But the relief didn't last. As the trucks gained on him, he noticed their lights flickered strangely, like old bulbs about to burst. Their engines rumbled out of sync, some too fast, others dragging as though choking for air. Mike leaned forward, staring into the mirror. The trucks were wrong. Their trailers were battered, rusted, some ripped open like carcasses. Tires shredded, sparks showering as steel ground against asphalt. Windshields cracked, some shattered entirely. Yet they rolled forward anyway, their drivers silhouettes of shadow, unmoving. One by one, their horns wailed again. The sound made Mike's bones vibrate. The hitchhiker finally spoke, his voice flat. "Don't let them surround you." Mike's grip on the wheel tightened. "What are they?" "Drivers who never left this road," the man said. "Convoy of the dead." Mike's stomach lurched. He pressed harder on the gas, the speedometer climbing. His rig roared, but the convoy behind him roared louder. Their trucks moved faster than physics should allow, closing the distance. The first slammed up beside him, its trailer scraping so close sparks lit up the night. Mike turned his head and saw its cab. No driver. Just an empty seat. The steering wheel twisted on its own, like invisible hands gripped it. Another truck pulled up on the opposite side. Its cab was darker, the driver's shadow barely visible. For a split second, Mike thought he saw eyes glowing faintly in the blackness. Watching him. The hitchhiker leaned forward. "Hold your lane. Don't let them pull you in." The trucks pressed closer, hemming him in. Metal shrieked as one of the ghostly trailers scraped the side of his rig, peeling away paint. The air thickened with the stench of burnt rubber and something fouler, rot, oil, and blood all mingled together. "Jesus Christ," Mike whispered. His arms trembled as he fought to keep the wheel steady. The convoy surged forward in unison. Their horns blared together now, a wall of sound so loud it rattled the cab and made Mike's teeth ache. The road ahead blurred into darkness. And then he saw it. A bridge. Narrow. Rusting. A skeletal span disappearing into fog. The convoy was herding him toward it, trucks on both sides, engines howling, forcing him into the choke point. The hitchhiker's tone sharpened, urgent. "If you take that bridge, you'll never come back." Mike's mind raced. His instincts screamed to brake, but the dead trucks pressed too close behind him. If he slowed, they'd crush him. "Then what the hell do I do?" he shouted. The hitchhiker's eyes gleamed. "You choose." Mike's breath came fast and shallow. The bridge loomed larger, every second pulling him closer. The convoy closed ranks, boxing him in. His hands slipped with sweat on the wheel. He had one chance, either force his way out of their trap, or drive into the bridge and vanish with them forever. The horns screamed. The night closed in. Mike braced himself. And turned the wheel. The wheel jerked hard beneath Mike's hands, tires screaming against the asphalt. His truck broke formation, slamming into the side of one of the phantom semis. Sparks sprayed like fireworks. The dead rig didn't slow, didn't swerve, it simply absorbed the hit and kept grinding forward. But Mike's truck tore free of the convoy, veering off the lane, just shy of the bridge's yawning mouth. The hitchhiker slammed into the dashboard with a grunt as Mike fought the wheel, wrestling the 18-wheeler back under control. Behind them, the dead convoy roared in fury. Horns blared, a chorus of rage that made the very air vibrate. The ghostly trucks thundered past, swallowed by the bridge's fog-shrouded steel bones. One by one, their flickering taillights vanished. Silence fell. Only the sound of Mike's labored breathing filled the cab. His knuckles were white on the wheel, sweat pouring down his temples. The hitchhiker sat back, his face unreadable. "You did what most men can't." Mike swallowed hard. "What the hell was that?" "The last ride," the man said. "The convoy takes those who refuse to leave the road. Once you're part of it, you drive forever. No exit. No dawn." Mike's stomach turned. He stared into the rearview mirror, but the bridge behind them was empty, fading into fog. For the first time in hours, he felt a strange sense of relief. He had survived. Or so he thought. The road ahead stretched straight, endless, lined with skeletal trees. The headlights carved a narrow tunnel through the dark. Mike's heart began to steady, his breathing slowing. Then he noticed something. The mile marker on the side of the road. Mile 66. He frowned. Hadn't he passed this one already? 10 minutes later, another sign appeared. Mile 66. His chest tightened. He gripped the wheel harder. Again and again, the marker returned. The same number. The same patch of cracked pavement. The same leaning tree just beyond it. He wasn't escaping. He was circling. The hitchhiker finally broke the silence. His voice was low, almost sympathetic. "Some roads don't let you leave, Mike." Mike's throat went dry. "No. No, I broke free. I saw them go. I'm not one of them." The hitchhiker's lips curved into something that wasn't quite a smile. A convoy isn't always trucks. Sometimes it's men who carry their ghosts inside them. You didn't choose the bridge, but the road, it still chose you. Mike's chest heaved. He looked at the man beside him. For the first time, really looked. The hitchhiker's features flickered, like a dying film reel. His eyes hollowed, skin draining of color, his outline fading in and out of the dim cab light. "You picked me up, Mike," he whispered. "That was the choice." Mike's hands shook violently on the wheel. You're one of them." "I've always been one of them." The hitchhiker leaned closer, and Mike felt the cold seeping into him, numbing his arms, his legs, his very breath. The truck's headlights dimmed. The engine coughed, sputtered. Darkness pressed harder against the windshield, thicker than fog, swallowing the horizon whole. Mile marker 66 loomed ahead once more. Mike's eyes burned, tears blurring the road. "No, please, not me." The hitchhiker's whisper echoed in his ear. "You're already on the last mile." The rig shuddered, headlights finally winking out. The endless road claimed them both. And somewhere, faintly in the night air, horns wailed once more, welcoming a new driver to the convoy. Thank you for listening all the way to the end. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share it with friends. See you on the next dark road.